September 12th might be Scorpio Day, might be Relationship Day, might just be Feeling Day, and might also be Venus Day. So I hope I haven't given you too many clues to figure out what the CIRF report is. There's a lot happening today, and we'll talk all about that. But this is the CIRF report. For those of you who are new, we're looking for the biggest collective influence that might be affecting the way you think, feel, and behave. And we do this with astrology, DreamBot, collective unconscious, numerology, etc. And let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with the astrology of it all. The transit moon is going into Scorpio. That's the big headline. And it's going to conjunct with Venus. And Venus already in Scorpio, Scorpio being very watery, emotional, it's forcing you to feel, and a lot of Scorpios tend to repress that emotion. So not only just feeling, but consciously being aware of those feelings would be very important today. We'll talk about that later in the How to Surf section. Excuse me. Number 12. Number 12 is the same thing as Scorpio. Might as well just be the number for Scorpio. And it forces us to feel. Okay, so now we have the moon conjuncting with Venus, and those have an opposition to Uranus. Uranus all about change, unexpected change. So if you have already in a relationship, these unexpected changes could produce tension, and you might feel tension today. If you're not in a relationship, and I'm not necessarily even talking about romantic relationships, but most people think along those lines, and especially in astrology. So if you do meet someone today, it might be a fleeting type of relationship, and in the long run, it tends to not pan out. So these types of relationships today are not, at least the new ones, are not those long-term relationships. And so we'll talk about more about that later. But the Venus also makes a sextile with Saturn. So Saturn being quite the opposite of Uranus, and Saturn aspect is a harmonious aspect. It's about maturing the relationship, improving the relationship, making it more ideal, making it towards betterment. It might produce some obstacles along the way, but it's all about improving that relationship and not putting a knife into it, if you will. Okay, and then Jupiter, which is already in Scorpio, also makes a sextile to Pluto. And Pluto being the subconscious, we talked about that in the previous days. But the subconscious is improved. In fact, this aspect is kind of like being promoted at work. It's not like you've have to adapt to some sort of change. It just sort of happens. Jupiter is kind of the good fortune, or the trying not to sneeze. Where was I? Jupiter's the good fortune. It just happens, and it does that in a harmonious relative position to Pluto. So your subconscious is being improved, your life is being improved today, and then we bring back the Venus aspects. The relationships are changing, there's some sort of unexpected change in the relationship, but also the relationship is improving. Let's go see what the DreamBot says, and this is the collective unconscious, and there's a lot going on here, but let's just start with the black arrows. Support, fiance, touching, security, favorite, and visiting at the very bottom. The black arrows is what I've gathered together as the positive side of relationships, or the positive relationships that you have. The red arrows are more of the Uranus opposition meme, chain, wolves, giant, God, stranger, scary dog, villain. Okay, these are kind of the not harmonious relationships. Well, I mean, arguably God and giant. Some of these aren't neither good nor bad. A lot of people think God is only good, but I mean, you could have other gods, for example, gods that aren't so favorable. You know, in like ancient Greece, for example, has gods that aren't so nice. So it's neither good nor bad, but generally the red arrows are signifying more of the Uranus aspect. So there's people in your life who, today anyway, during this opposition, who may feel like there's something special about them, but they might end up being a villain. That's just kind of my example. That's the Uranus aspect to Venus today. Then previously we talked about the Jupiter sextile Pluto. And this is on the left side of these left arrows. Support, security, God, smart, visible. It's not about relationships in particular. Look at those in terms of improving your life. So you're being supported from somewhere, just you're being supported. You have security. God's helping you. You're feeling smart and you're being visible in your work life, in your regular relationship life. Things seem to be better. So there is a lot of harmony today. Well, without further ado, let's identify what the influence is. The influence is a lot heavy into relationships, but more importantly, having to navigate through your emotions. It's all about feeling. Relationships are feeling. You don't have relationships. If you have relationships and there's no feeling in there, that's called indifference. And indifference, there's no connection. There's zero connection. Zero, zilch, nada. And so you have to feel. But as we saw in both the astrology and the DreamBot, it's all about relationships today. All right, now let's take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about how to surf these collective energies. I probably hit the save button too early with all the other aspects I needed to include in the DreamBot, but there is a lot about Venus, okay? We got the opposition, we got the sextile, we have the conjunct with the moon. So there's actually 3 aspects, but it's because it's being magnified by the transit moon. And it's going to force us to feel today, now how do we orchestrate this with all these changes in relationship happening and potentially improvements in work life and personal life with the Jupiter aspect? Basically, we're going to be forced to feel. Now, for those of you who are used to repressing, this is going to be very difficult because those repressors want to use their mind to navigate, and that's not today. Today is navigating through the emotions. That's what Scorpio offers you. And that's what all these aspects are offering you. So how do you feel when 95% of your emotions and behaviors and thoughts are all unconscious? Well, you have to take a break. First is take a break from what you're doing. Any type of doing kind of tends to take you away from those feelings. Certain psychologist, Csikszentmihalyi, he's a Czechoslovakian psychologist, talked about flow. And in flow, he's actually doing stuff, and he finds creative people or sports figures who are doing stuff while they're feeling. And this would be a very passionate state. And this is the state that he coined the flow. So you can be doing stuff, but it's unusual and it's fleeting. It's not like something you can sustain all day, every day. So in general, whenever you consciously feel an emotion, you stop what you're doing, because that's a lot of our doing is distracting us away from experiencing that. So stop what you're doing. Look at what the emotion is doing to your body. So sometimes the emotion increases your heart rate. That'd be more like fear, anger, something that has you needing to do stuff like more of the yang type of emotions, where sad and guilt and those kind of things all slow things down. For guilt, for example, makes your head kind of heavy and your eyes tend to, or shame kind of makes your eyes go down. But notice these are very subtle. And at a very early age in life, we tend to get really good at unconsciously reading people's emotions just from mannerisms, just from facial expressions, the unspoken communication. Okay, so feel the emotion. So step 1, stop what you're doing. Step 2, feel what's happening inside of your body. Step 3 is to learn from that emotion. Remember, today's emotion is guiding you in the Scorpio. It's in the number 12, forcing you to feel. So we're going to be guided by the sensations today. It doesn't mean that you feel something and you go do it. Remember, number one, stop what you're doing. So it's not an impulsive action. So, oh, this wonderful person over here, I want to meet them. It doesn't mean, oh, you got to go meet them. It's learning from this emotion. So I can throw out tons of different examples. But step 1, stop what you're doing. Step 2, feel this emotion. 3, learn from that emotion. Step 4, enact some action into your life based on what you've learned from step number 3. And that's how we improve. Today's a day of improvement. We have that via the sextile with Saturn. Saturn's going to show you the ideal and what to do and how to get better. And then you got the Pluto thing too. So, was that confusing? Rewind on the different steps. I hope that makes it clear. I can go for another hour on talking about what these emotions mean, but we'll suffice it at that. So hopefully some other video can talk about all those different emotions. There is a good book by Sarah McLaren, I believe, something like that, but it's called The Language of Emotions. Highly recommended. Great book, and gives you a lot of help on step number 3, which is learn from this emotion. What is the emotion telling you? And then the all-important, enact something in your life based on what you've learned. All right, that's it today. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for all your likes and shares. I really, really appreciate the support that we're getting. And have a great day. We got one more surf, and then the weekend comes in. We'll see what's going on then. And might even put out a weekend report. Who knows? Thanks for being here, everybody. Have a great day.